Da. You're watching the only podcast that matters. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leec, and this is Rope Break. So here we are, Thursday morning. You guys already know what that means. Last night we just watched 4 hours of fantastic wrestling, and I haven't finished NXT yet. I always watch it later. I watch AEW live, NXT later. I almost want to say that I think AEW had the edge this week, and everybody's going to be like, but John Paul's an NXT mark. Well, that may be true, but I think AEW might have had the better show this week. The only problems I really had with this show was just some of the booking decisions that predated this, and I'll explain that when I get to each segment, but I mean, all the in-ring action we saw was all fantastic. There wasn't anything bad on the show in that aspect, and there usually isn't from AEW. It's usually only just their booking decisions that, kind of have me questioning things a little bit here or there. But everything else on the show, fantastic. And before we get into it, like always, just want to thank all the new subscribers. We had, a good amount of people join recently, so we're really happy about that. Want to thank each and all of the new subscribers, and also want to thank all the old subscribers as well. So, like I said, enough of the, introductions. Let's get right into it. So we had the number one contendership tag team battle royal, and of course we knew this was going to be great. Like I said, AEW, their tag team division is one of the greatest, it could be, it's probably the greatest out of any wrestling promotion out there. They have so many talented tag teams, so you knew this wasn't going to disappoint. So, and I do like the way they did this. It's not like how WWE does it, where if one member gets eliminated, the whole team is out. Both members had to get eliminated, and that definitely played a factor in the winning team. So, let me just take you through this, because there's a lot of stuff that happened. So, the bell rings. Everybody rushes the ring. Of course, there's chaos with all 10 teams in there. SCU, they deliver the first move. They do a big crossbody, knock everyone out. Then, kind of when everybody is back up to their feet fighting against Jack Evans, is like, hey, what's, good for the goose is good for the gander. He goes up top. He decides to try to do the same thing, but they're like, not this time, dude. They catch him and toss him out. So he's the first one eliminated. Then the teams, they continue to go at it. T-Hawk, he tries to throw out Mark Quinn. But he holds on, and then he tries to do the same thing to Cassidy. And if you've seen a private party match, you knew what they were setting up. Boom, they hit the silly string on him. So T-Hawk is out of this. T-Hawk from Street Fighter, like, I don't know what the hell's going on here, dude. I thought you were better than that. So then we get SCU. They go on a rampage. They start knocking everybody down. Boom, cuts to the Dark Order. They're standing there by the barricade, like the kind of like where the fans come down, whatever. And they say at ringside, and they're questioning where Christopher Daniels is, and they tell him that the Exalted One is near. And then by surprise, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, I think their names are. I say so many names, but I'm pretty sure that's what their names are. They come down. They start. They actually eliminate Sky and Kazarian. And then of course the Bucks, they drop kick the two members of the Dark Order, and they eliminate them. So this just continues the feud with SCU and the Dark Order. So then Santana and Ortiz, they haven't entered the match yet. One commentary brings this up, but then as soon as they say so, I don't know if that was a cue. Boom, they go right in the match, and they start attacking Shima. And then they throw Shima to the apron, and then Jungle Boy to the apron as well. Shima and Jungle Boy, they fight on the apron. Luchasaurus comes. He gives a big boot to Shima. So the Strong Hearts are the fourth team, that's out of this thing. So not only outside the Dark Order, they're like, hey, Shima, you suck as well, just as much as, T-Hawk and everybody else. Here, do you want a mask? And they give it to him, and he takes the mask, and he's like, ooh. And then that's pretty much the last we see of him. So then back on the inside, Nick Jackson, he gets thrown to the apron, and then he springboards in and plants Angelico. Nick starts to kick everybody, and then he gets caught in a choke slam by Luchasaurus. But he gets out, and then he delivers a kick to Luchasaurus, and he goes to charge at the Butcher. And then the Butcher sends Nick up and over and eliminated. The Butcher looked really good in this Battle Royal. I just want to say that right now. To me, the Blade is like the jobber. He's like the Enzo Amore of this team. He's the little small. Even though he's not small, he's smaller than the Butcher. He's the small guy of the team, so he's just going to be the one who gets his ass beat, looks like a fool, and then the Butcher comes in and cleans house, which is a shame. I feel like these guys should be booked almost like LOD. Not saying that they're that, good or marketable or anything. They're probably better than LOD, ring, like, move-wise. But they should be booked the same. They're two massive, huge men. So now Luchasaurus and the Butcher, they go face to face. They start going at it. Luchasaurus with a spinning back kick. Butcher hits a huge clothesline. Santana and Ortiz, then they send both members of Private Party out, eliminating them. Sammy Guevara comes in. He helps eliminate Angelico, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. So all that's left now is the Butcher and the Blade, the best friends, Santana and Ortiz, and Matt Jackson. So then Chuck Taylor, he gets eliminated by the Butcher, and then Trent is sent out as well, but he lands on the shoulders of Orange Cassidy, and the Cassidy, when he has Trent on his shoulders, puts him on the steps. Matt Jackson, he eliminates then the Blade, and Santana and Ortiz, and the Butcher, they attack Trent and Matt, and then the Butcher tries to eliminate Trent over, but both men fight out. Onto the apron. Orange Cassidy's there offering to try to catch Trent, but the Bunny is there. She low blows him, and then Orange Cassidy and the distraction allows the Butcher to eliminate Trent. So then Matt runs and he spears the Butcher, but he goes through the middle rope, of course, and then he eliminates the Butcher. So now we're down to Matt Jackson and Santana and Ortiz. And Matt tries to fight off the two of them, but they're too much, and try to clothesline him. Matt catches them in a double Northern Light suplex, which I'm sorry, the Young Bucks, their arms are smaller than mine. So to me, the double Northern Light suplex, I don't buy it. They're talented as all hell, but really, I don't like that move, especially to a team like you're building, Santana and Ortiz. So then Matt runs off the ropes, but Guevara grabs his leg, and then They hit the street sweeper on him, and I thought that was done. They throw him out. He lands on the apron, and then Ortiz comes at him, and Matt throws him up onto the apron. Santana charges as well, but he stops before he hits Ortiz, and then he moves out of the way. Matt delivers a super kick to Santana, eliminating him. Then Sammy Guevara, he jumps from the apron and springboards in, and Matt super kicks the hell out of him. And then Ortiz, he comes in and tries to eliminate Matt, but Matt eliminates Ortiz over the ropes to pick up the victory. So the winner, the Young Bucks. And like I said, the match itself, fantastic. As soon as Nick Jackson was eliminated early on, I was like, oh shit, like, are the Bucks actually going to win this thing? Because the Bucks were the obvious team to win. That was the big neon sign, like winners right here, ding, ding, like the flashing neon bar signs. That's exactly what was pointing at the Young Bucks. They tried to maybe make you not believe it was going to happen by eliminating Nick so early, but, you knew that was the storyline set up. And like I said, sometimes wrestling can be predictable, and I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but this whole episode of Dynamite, that was the only real thing. It was just extremely predictable. And like I said, that's wrestling in general. That's the same thing with NXT sometimes. And Monday Night Raw and SmackDown are predictable. Raw, you can usually tell the storyline, what's going to happen. And SmackDown, you can tell it's predictable because the show is always bullshit. So like I said, the winner, the Young Bucks. We knew that's who was going to win. It was a fantastic match otherwise. And I'm excited to see the match at Revolution. I think it'll be a good match. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the Young Bucks, but, they were definitely the team to win here. So then we get a women's match of two women who are actually good, and I actually want to see more of. AEW's actually doing that now, so I got to give the little clap. Good job to them. So then we get Shauna versus Chris Statlander. So, of course, they had to ruin this match by having the cringy Britt Baker on commentary. Sorry, Adam Cole, baby, but, your girlfriend, wife, whatever the hell she is, cringy. So she's on there, and then the two women, they go at each other. They start locking for position, back and forth, wrist locks, and Statlander, she gets the upper hand. Shauna rolls through, and she gets one of her own. Statlander reverses, and then she does the cartwheel around the ring, and then hits a head scissors on Shauna and boops her on the nose. So then the two, they start booping back and forth, but then they really start pushing each other, and then Excalibur said that they were pie facing each other. And Jim Ross goes on some crazy, old man tangent. He's like, why does it have to be pie? Why can't it be cake? I like cake. And I was like, cake is a term for ass. Jim Ross is always liking pictures of women on Twitter when they're posting their ass. So, Jim Ross likes ass. Hey, I can't say I blame him. And then, so Statlander, she gets up, she throws Shauna into the corner, she splashes her, and then hits a knee to her jaw. And then she goes for a cover, Shauna kicks out. Statlander climbs up to the top rope, but she kicked down, and then she's in the Tree of Woe. Shauna climbs up and nails a stomp on Statlander. Both women are up. Statlander surprised Shauna with a clothesline and then a jawbreaker. She puts her on her shoulders and hits the modified Tombstone, the Big Bang Theory, for the win. So decent match. Obviously the right winner, Chris Statlander. Like I said, I want to see more from both these women. I feel that there should have been something with the Shauna-Nyla Rose thing, unless that feud was done and they ended it on Dark. But again, I don't watch Dark. I don't have time, nor do I want to watch that. They should tell me the storylines. Quick recap. Give me 5 minutes in the beginning, middle, or towards the end of the show before the main event. Recap what happened on Dark the night before. But like I said, decent match. At least we care about these women, and they're both talented. It's not like you're bringing over a wrestler from Japan who we're going to see once every 2 months, like a Bea Priestley or, somebody like that. Because to me, that's not fair. You introduce them to us, and we like this person, and then we don't see them. Same thing with like Riho. Not that we liked Riho. Towards the end, I liked her. This Nyla Rose match, I was a fan of Riho. I thought she had some good offense. Why couldn't we see that, like I said, throughout her whole stint in AEW? But enough bitching about the past. Like I said, this match is pretty good, and the right woman won. So then we get an interview segment, and the new AEW Women's Champion, Nyla Rose. So she comes out. She obviously doesn't get a warm reception. Like I said, the fans are always good. If it's a heel, they'll cheer him a little bit if it's Jericho, but usually they boo a heel no matter what, whether they like him or not. Got to give that to the fans. So they start booing Nyla Rose, and then she takes no exception to it. The crowd keeps booing her, and then she says they sound like a bunch of little buzzing bees, and she says that she should have been the first champion and the highest paid woman in the locker room. And she said, but waiting has made her hungry, and you know what happens when she gets hungry? She breaks bitches. And she broke Riho, and she cut her strings. She said that she represents power, and she says that all these little bees can say what they want to say, and that she is the queen bee of this hive. And she says that she will be the one-time champion, and because nobody can beat her, and there's no beast like her. So then out comes Chris Statlander. She gets in the face of Nyla Rose, and then after that comes out Big Swole. They all kind of start mouthing off. I mean, Statlander really doesn't say anything because, she's playing up the alien gimmick and all that, so she really doesn't say anything, but they're all just kind of in each other's face. And then the refs comes in, they separate all three, and then Nyla Rose goes to the back. So it was good to actually hear from Nyla Rose, hear from the champion, because of course, like I said, I'm not just trying to pick on her, but we never heard from Riho, probably because she doesn't speak English. But hey, when Asuka was champion in NXT, they had her speak, and they just had subtitles at the bottom. You could do the exact same thing. We all know how to read. I mean, most of us. Some wrestling fans are a little shaky, but most of us know how to read. So you could have did something like that. And I feel like this is going to be the match at Revolution. If they're going to do a women's match, it's going to be the three of them. So Big Swole can eat the pin because Chris Statlander is eventually, in the big plans down the line. So then we get Jon Moxley versus Jeff Cobb. And this is another one of those matches that this is like really one of the first ones that they kind of booked themselves into a spot where they had to go. Like, I'll explain it when I get there. Like, Jeff Cobb, I'll just say now, he shouldn't have lost in his debut. But Jon Moxley can also not lose going into Revolution, so they booked themselves into a corner. But let me take you through this match. So before it starts, of course, Jericho, Guevara, Hager, they make their way to ringside. They actually sit down because I believe they have tickets. Like he's waving his tickets, like, hey, don't even try to stop me, whatever. I'm a fan, So they all sit down. And then the match starts, and Cobb, he nearly suplexes Moxley, out of his pants. And he chops Moxley hard, drop kicks him out of the ring. Cobb follows Moxley and slams him onto the steel steps, then throws him back into the ring. Moxley recovers and he drop kicks Cobb to the outside as he tries to get into the ring. Moxley then springboards right onto Cobb to the outside. And then Cobb is thrown back in, and Moxley follows. Cobb nails a few headbutts on Moxley. Moxley starts to chop away on Cobb, but he comes back with a knee to the gut before whipping Moxley hard into the turnbuckle. Cobb then puts a rear chinlock onto Moxley, but Moxley starts to fight up. Cobb stops, and he comes back. He sends Moxley to the out of the ring, and then Moxley hits the barricade. And back in the ring, Moxley tries for a crossbody, but Cobb catches him. And then he looks to hit the Tour of the Islands, but Moxley fights out, and he drop kicks Cobb in the knee. and then he puts his knee on the ropes and runs and drop kicks it hard. And then he brings Cobb to the ring post and wraps Cobb's knee multiple times around the ring post. So the story, he was obviously working down the big man's leg, which is, a strategy you see often in wrestling. I was going to say in WWE, in wrestling. Cobb tries to fight back, but Moxley locks in a sleeper. Cobb reverses, but Moxley gets a drop toe hold and looks to lock in a knee bar, but Cobb gets to the ropes and he gets to the outside. Moxley tries to springboard to the outside, but Cobb catches him and gives him a huge overhead belly-to-belly suplex on the outside. Then back in the ring, Moxley bounces off the ropes and hits Cobb with a couple of knees. Cobb answers with a German suplex. Moxley jumps right back up and nails Cobb with a big clothesline. Both men are exhausted. They eventually get to their feet before hitting laying these punches on each other back and forth. Moxley bounces off the ropes and Cobb answers with a super kick and then a massive clothesline. Moxley gets up, staggers to the corner, and Cobb nails him with a huge European uppercut. He puts him on the top rope and hits Moxley with a superplex. Moxley shifts the momentum and surprises Cobb with a cover and the 3 count. So the winner is Jon Moxley. And there was just, some stuff that happened after the match, but I just wanted to talk about the match itself. Quick, in my opinions. It was a great match. These guys beat the hell out of each other, and that's exactly what I knew it was going to be. I'm definitely excited to see more of Jeff Cobb. You had Taz on commentary, and this guy is like Taz. I mean, Taz was legit in ECW. I'm taking nothing away from him, but this guy's like Taz turned up to 11, if Taz wasn't already turned up to 11. This guy is awesome. And with all that being said, why is he losing in his debut? He should have been brought in, and Jericho said, like, hey, my muscle, my bodyguard, my big man is right here, Jake Hager. But he's got to kick that old, decrepit Dustin Rhodes ass. So I don't have him. So now I got to bring in somebody new. I got to expand the inner circle even more. Boom, Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb could have been the guy who hung around hung around during the Moxley match with Jericho. And, he could have been like, this is my new muscle because, like I said, Jake Hager has some business he has to take care of. And then you could have seen him in a squash match against, someone who was in this battle royal. Like, he could have been on Dark against T-Hawk, or he could have went against, because, he's pretty much a jobber and a loser on the show anyway. He could have killed Michael Nakazawa in, 2 seconds or something. That should have been, his first match. Give him some squash matches so he's not losing his debut match. Yeah, sure, he beat Moxley, and I know it was a fluke. Moxley just used his momentum off the superplex to roll him up. But he still looked like an idiot because he popped up and he was looking around like, huh? Like when you oversleep through your alarm and you're 2 hours late to work and you're like, huh? What's going on? That's what Jeff Cobb looked like. It was like, come on, dude, really? You should have beat this. It should have been Tour of the Islands and done, but it's Jon Moxley going into a pay-per-view in 10 days, 9 days now. So you obviously weren't going to do anything like that. So like I said, they booked themselves into a corner. Moxley was the right winner, but not really. You could have easily had Jericho or somebody jump in, beat him down. Obviously that happened after the match, but that could have happened, caused a DQ. Security could have came in because Jericho was technically a fan, so they can't really, I guess they could cause a DQ, but I don't know what that actual protocol is of that. Obviously, they know he's part of the inner circle. They're not stupid just because he bought a ticket, but, you could have done something instead of just a roll-up and have Jeff Cobb lose technically clean in his first match. So then, like I said, no sooner the bell rings, Jericho, Hager, Guevara, they hit the ring. They start beating the hell out of Moxley. Dustin Rhodes, he comes down and he starts taking out Hager, but the numbers eventually add up. So then suddenly all the lights go off, and then Darby Allin, he comes out. Pretty big pop for him. I feel, unless it was just blown out and you couldn't hear it, I feel like the commentary was bragging up the pop more than it actually was. Like I said, it could have just been the sound, of the commentary, and they turned down the volume from the crowd. Normally they don't. I feel like normally they let that play its normal volume so we can hear the big cheers. But they were saying how big of a pop he got. So he comes back. He stands at the top of the ramp a little longer than I thought he should have. Instead of running, I don't like when they do that in wrestling. I'm not just picking on AEW. It's all over, every promotion. When a guy comes out like that to make the save and they wait for their music and they stand there. I know it's for the pop and it's, for the fans, but sometimes you don't need to book for the fans. Sometimes you need to book in the sense of storyline and things that make sense. Presented as a real story, not just a sports entertainment, because that's the other company, right? That's those other guys. You're supposed to present this real. So I don't like when they stand on the ramp and they're waiting for their fanfare when the people you want to help are getting their ass beat. You should be rushing the ring immediately. But anyway, so he stands on the top of the ramp, then he's skateboard in hand, then he eventually skates down to the ring. He hits Jericho with the skateboard, and then Hager, and then Dustin surprises Hager and clotheslines him out of the ring. Darby goes after Guevara, he clotheslines him out of the ring, and Cobb attacks Darby, but Moxley gets him from behind and delivers a paradigm shift. So then we had to see the paradigm shift on Cobb anyway, so the faces stand tall. And I believe Darby Allin, he had some signs because he still can't speak, about Revolution and stuff for Guevara. So, decent beatdown. You knew it was going to happen with Jericho and all them out there. But like I said, the match itself with Cobb was great. It was hard-hitting. It was a legit match. I just wish the outcome could have been a little different. So speaking of legit matches, we get the AEW Tag Team Championship match, which I don't know really why this match was booked to begin with. I wasn't upset by the outcome because, like I said, this was another predictable one, even though they are my boys, the Lucha Bros. But we had Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Lucha Brothers. But this was a fantastic match. So let me take you through this. So Phoenix, he starts the match with Page. Page throws Phoenix off the ropes. Phoenix tries for a Hurricane Rana, but Page powers out. And Phoenix lands on his feet, bounces off the ropes, and runs into a big boot by Page. Page tags in Kenny. Page hits another boot while Kenny nails Phoenix from behind with a Kentaro Crusher. Kenny picks up Phoenix and hits him with a backbreaker and then tags in Page once again. Phoenix starts to fight back with some chops, but Page nails him with a huge chop of his own. And then he picks up Phoenix. He hits like a fisherman kind of fall-away slam type move. And then he goes for the cover, but Pentagon breaks it up. Kenny's tagged in, and he puts Phoenix in a fireman's carry, rolling senton. And then Page hits a running shooting star press, And then Kenny hits a moonsault and goes for the cover, but Phoenix kicks out. Phoenix, and he's able to tag in, and then he nails Kenny hard with a headbutt and a kick. Kenny bounces off the ropes, and he hits a tornado DDT on Pentagon. Page is tagged in, and he nails Pentagon with some chops in the corner. Phoenix hops up to the apron, and Page nails him with a big boot. He comes and hits Pentagon with a clothesline, and then a plancha onto the outside on Phoenix. Pentagon nails both Kenny and Page with super kicks, and then Kenny pushes Phoenix up and right into Page, and then nails him with a corkscrew cutter. Pentagon follows it up on Page with the Destroyer, and then Pentagon and Kenny make it to the outside, and Pentagon tries for the Pentagon driver on the apron, but Kenny fights out, and then Phoenix tightrope walks and nails Kenny with a punt kick to the face. And then, obviously, everything's breaking down towards the end of this thing like it normally does. Everybody's hitting their finishers back and forth. Hangman and Page hit Phoenix with a combination V-trigger and buckshot lariat for the win. So, your winners and still AEW Tag Team Champions, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. Like I said, you knew this was who the winners were going to be because why would it be? The story's not the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. That was the story in AEW's infancy. Now we're in, year one, you could call it. So, you knew they weren't going to win. They were just like, what is a great match that we can put on? And that's what this was. This was a fantastic match. The Young Bucks got more offense in than my notes give them, but it definitely was dominated by the champions. But that's fine. They're the champions. The Young Bucks are kind of, they're not presented in the greatest light. Not a light that I personally feel that they should be presented in. They should be the number one, number two team in your company, throughout the whole story or throughout the whole run of your company because they're just so talented and they deserve it. Your champions aren't even really, they're not even a tag team. They're two single stars. This is all just for a storyline to get the title on the Young Bucks at Revolution, which maybe I don't agree with, but they are telling a compelling story with the dissension in the Elite and everything, because after the match, of course the Young Bucks, they come out, they try to help Kenny up after this brutal match, but Page helps him up, and then he, gets up himself, he exits the ring, drinking a beer, this and that, like he normally does. I think he took a fan's beer, or a fan just gave him a beer, so, there's obviously the dissension there, and I feel like then this is going to set up, something's going to happen where Hangman, because he did, I think he did hit Kenny with a buckshot in this match as well. So something's going to happen where Kenny and Page, there's some dissension between them. The Young Bucks are going to take advantage, win the match at Revolution, and then that's going to set off the Kenny Omega and Hangman Page feud. And Kenny does have his match next week, I believe, with Pac. So that will be a hell of a match, an Iron Man match. I'm looking forward to it. I think Pac should win. I don't think Kenny should win because Pac needs to me, Pac is going to, if Jon Moxley wins at Revolution, which I'm not as sure about it now. If you asked me 2-3 weeks ago, I'd say, oh, absolutely, 100% he's going to win. Now I'm not so sure, but I feel if Jon Moxley does win, Pac needs to be his number one contender. So I think Pac needs to win this match against Kenny, and then Kenny needs to obviously then lose the tag team belts at Revolution, and then he can get, start climbing that ladder to be the number one contender after he beats Hangman Page. Because I think the storyline is that he will beat Page when they have their singles match. So now we get, speaking of singles matches and, firsts and everything like that, even though I don't think I mentioned it first, but it sounded good anyway. So we get the first steel cage match for AEW. And this is another one just like the Jeff Cobb match. It was a great match, and the right person won, but the person who lost shouldn't have lost because it was their first match. But let me take you through this. So Wardlow, he comes out with MJF. Cody comes out to the ring. Of course, he's Brandy, Arn Anderson. Wardlow, just this is the first time we're seeing him not in a suit. Big, strong. And he goes to grab Cody, and then Cody ducks under it, and he gives him a big boot. Wardlow, he just smiles, shakes it off. He's like, yeah, go ahead, hit me with another kick. And that was one thing. Even though Wardlow lost and all that, and he did sell some of Cody's offense. Obviously, he had to sell a 3 count. The dude he looked strong throughout this whole match. Even though he lost, he still looked good, but he shouldn't have lost. Nobody should lose their first match when they're supposed to be presented like this. So then Cody, he uses, because obviously Wardlow's big, he's strong, he's not as fast. So Cody knows he needs to use his speed. So Cody keeps being quick, and he springboards into a disaster kick. Cody runs off the ropes again and runs into a brutal clothesline from Wardlow. Wardlow picks up Cody, slams him hard into the cage. Wardlow continues to bounce Cody's head off the cage. Cody's busted open badly. Wardlow, he starts to pick up Cody and tosses him across the ring multiple times. He tries to do it one more time, but Cody reverses it into a front suplex. Blood is going all over his face. Great visuals. He springboards off the second rope for a cutter, and he tries to pick up Wardlow and push him into the cage, but Wardlow surprises Cody with a backwards heel kick, low blow. And then Wardlow, he picks up Cody, puts him on his shoulders, and then spins him around like a helicopter. Cody is near the door, and the door open. MJF tells Arn Anderson to slam the door on his head because he knows he wants to. Instead, Arn opens it all the way right into the face of MJF. And there was no, it's not like this, you escape the cage, you win. This was pinfall or submission only. So that's the one thing I thought Cody was just going to escape the cage, because then Wardlow wouldn't have looked as weak. But then it was this stipulation. I was like, oh shit, Wardlow's going to get pinned or he's going to submit. Because Cody had to win this for the match at Revolution. So you knew this was another one. It was predictable. There was no way that Cody was going to lose. So then Cody back in. He starts to quicken the pace. Some clotheslines. Wardlow stops him again with a suplex. Wardlow climbs to the top rope and delivers a swanton to Cody. MJF hands Wardlow the ring. And Wardlow puts it on, but the time he took, it allows Cody to, he hits a low blow of his own, returning the favor from earlier. Cody puts on the ring, and then MJF, he's freaking out on the outside, and he starts to climb the cage, and Brandy surprises him with a steel chair shot. MJF hops down, he gets in the face of Brandy, but Arn Anderson throws MJF into the crowd. He no-sold that chair shot. I mean, obviously she didn't swing it, like she was trying to hit a home run, but he completely no-sold that chair shot. She whacked him, and it looked, like I said, decent. And then he hops down, he's like, what are you doing? He just completely no-sold it. I kind of laughed at that. So then, meanwhile, Cody nails Wardlow in the face with the ring, and then he hits him with a crossroads 1-2 kick out, which that's the thing that I said I like. He got punched in the face with the ring, and he also kicked out of the crossroads, so at least they made him look good. So then Cody looks up to the top of the cage. He starts to climb. He's all the way up at the top of the cage. Now we're talking like a Matt Hardy Daredevil type bullshit here. So he's all the way at the top. He looks down, deep breath. moonsaults off this thing. Wardlow is on his feet at this point, which was the right move so Wardlow could catch him, because I think a moonsault from top there, he would have landed probably mostly on his knees. That would have destroyed Cody's knees. He's young, but he's not a spring chicken. So Wardlow, he's up on his feet at this point, catches him, boom, goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3. Cody Rhodes has gone through phase 2 or the second challenge, whatever the hell you want to call it. He got the lashings. He got, he's not going to touch MJF before Revolution, and boom. He beat, I guess you could say this is phase 3 or whatever. I don't think I'm missing any. And he beat Wardlow in a steel cage. So now MJF, he's coming for you, baby. And that was Dynamite. Like I said, it was a fantastic show. You look at everything, in-ring action and all that stuff. It was fantastic. I don't find any fault in anything. I'm not going to say, this match was boring. The women's match, it was what it was. The whole women's division isn't exciting. And at least, like I said, we got a new champion, which we were all clamoring for. And we got a women's match between two women who we actually care about, who are actually full-time on this roster. So I have no complaints there. Like I said, the only thing was just Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb and Wardlow both shouldn't have lost in their debut matches, but they were both going against two of the hottest baby faces, if not the two hottest baby faces in the company right now. So of course they had to lose going into a pay-per-view and this and that. But like I said, it was a great episode. Fantastic in ring, everything. I'm looking forward to Revolution. I think more than Full Gear. Full Gear to me was a letdown. Besides the main event, unsanctioned, whatever you want to call it, with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. Other than that, Full Gear didn't live up to the hype for me personally, but I think this show will be good. I'm excited for Dustin Rhodes and Jake Hager. I'm excited for Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. The tag team match should be good, even though, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Young Bucks. It should be good. The story's there, for Jericho and Moxley. The story's there for MJF and Cody. So I'm really looking forward to that. And like I said, for the women's match, my prediction is that triple threat where Big Swole eats the pin. So you don't even need to watch our previews and predictions for that match. Oh, please watch it. But you don't need to watch the women's segment. Listen to Jean Paul, because you already have his pick. And they also announced, I forget who the toy company was. It was someone owned by Jazzwares. I think it was Wicked Cool Toys, I want to say. They are doing the AEW figures, and they showed them off. They look really cool. They look cool, but I don't know if I'm going to be getting them. Just because, I don't even collect the WWE Mattel Elites, so I don't know if I'll be collecting these. Obviously, their roster is a lot smaller. I might get the Lucha Bros if they, eventually do them. But we'll see. Normally, if I collect one, I have to have them all. So I might just avoid the whole line altogether. But they do really look cool. So we'll see what goes on there. But, like I said, that was the review. And, as always, guys, follow us on social media. You know the spiel by now. Click all the links. We got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have all the videos on the channel. If you haven't watched NXT Portland, check that out. One of the best pay-per-views you will ever watch in the last 5 years that has happened. It might even have been the best takeover that they've ever done. Juan has a bunch of soccer videos. He has FIFA gameplay. Like I said, and we have Monday Night Raw review. If you haven't watched that already, I go over Raw. Just like I said, it was a boring show on Raw. This was the exact opposite. This show was exciting. Every match you were paying attention to. You weren't checking your phone. You weren't doing something else, leaving it on background noise because you didn't want to miss anything. This was a fantastic, fantastic show. And like I said, I feel like NXT, I think I'm going to give the edge to AEW this week. But, after I watch the full NXT, you'll hear my full thoughts and all that when we review that tonight with Juan. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And like I said, we'll see you tonight with NXT.